Melissa, sometimes you get home from work, it's 1 a.m., and all you want is a bowl of ramen noodles.
Yes.
You know, sometimes it just hits the spot. And I was really excited because I bought a new bowl specifically for noodles. Comes with little chopsticks and a little rest thing on top of the bowl that you can put them on. I was all excited. Made my ramen noodles, added a bunch of extra stuff to it, feeling really fancy.
You do a soft-boiled egg?
Yeah, I did 2 soft-boiled eggs.
Nice.
Did some green onion, some yellow onion, a little bit of corn in there. Really went all out.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, I want a really soupy ramen. So I left a lot of the water in there. Got my new bowl, I was holding it in my left hand, using my right hand to pour over the sink, and it way overfilled, and I immediately just felt scalding pain on my finger.
Yes.
But naturally, because I didn't want to shatter my new bowl, I just held on to it. Set down the boiling water, eventually set down the bowl, and looked at my finger, and it was immediately, the whole thing was just blistered.
Yeah, Hannah, so I think the first thing anyone should know about just burns in general is that if your finger starts to burn, you just drop whatever you have.
Yep.
Don't worry about shattering. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned.
Sadly.
Yeah, so I was on FaceTime with a friend, and she said to run it under normal temperature water, not cold water.
Yeah.
She was looking online to see.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I used a cold compress. I was in a ton of pain, trying to see if I should go to emergency room or not. Decided not to. I just tried to fall asleep through the pain. And, I woke up the next day. It was a little bit better, and it's gradually healing. But it's my favorite finger.
Yes. The bird finger.
The one to flip off, if you need to.
Yes.
And I had to keep it wrapped for a long time. Made it hard to type at work and made it hard to flip people off if I needed to.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Burns, hot water, not fun.
No.
Get burned by some hot water. I had an unfortunate scalding incident when I was a child where I had hot noodle water accidentally poured on my arms. Thankfully, I didn't get, second-degree burns, but it hurt a lot, and I certainly got burned. It's not fun.
No. Not fun at all.
A burn for the worst.
Truly a burn for the worst.
You may say.
Do we have an update on your burn?
Yeah, it's fully healed. No mark. I don't know when. At some point, the mark disappeared. Yeah, it's we fully recovered from my ass burning,
Nice.
thankfully. But yeah, this podcast is no stranger to burns.
It is not.
Unfortunately, sadly, sunburns.
Fool me once. Strike one. Fool me twice. Get burned.
Soup, there.
That's what I was going to do. Soup, there it is.
Soup, there it is.
Welcome. This is Research Rank Repeat. I'm co-host Hannah.
This is co-host Alyssa.
And we are back. Technically, not our first episode of 2023, but our first
Actual episode.
back to our regular programming,
Yes.
so to speak.
We like to do a year in review of the year that we just did. So that has come out in January. So now we are back to ranking things.
Yeah.
And we thought, what better way to warm our cold, frigid hearts than to eat some soup?
Yeah.
Warm it up.
Specifically canned soup.
Specifically, canned chicken noodle soup.
This was an idea that I think we just came up with.
Yeah, I think you did.
I don't think anyone recommended it. I can't
No.
remember. But, yeah. I was like, you know what? I like a good canned chicken soup once in a while.
Yeah, especially in the winter.
Yeah, or if I'm not feeling too well, got a little bit of cold going on. And I thought, what really is the best canned chicken noodle soup?
Yeah, what is it?
We don't know.
We're going to find out.
We'll find out.
Today.
To be fair, we didn't get every single kind of canned chicken soup.
No, we have 8 soups. Technically, 7 are canned and 1 is a jar, but
Yeah.
it serves the same function.
We'll go through those as we get to them.
We sure will.
But yeah, Melissa, you got any soup facts for us?
I do. And once again, we have our trusty whiteboards to lend our way.
Yes, we do.
Yes. And once again, I have turned to our most trusted web source, Wikipedia, for some of these soup facts.
Update. I finally went in and bought us new markers for the whiteboards.
Oh,
Figured
exciting.
year 2, get some new markers.
Some new upgrade a little bit,
Yes.
All right, so I just have a few general soup facts and then a few things more focused on chicken noodle and canned chicken noodle soup. So soup is a primarily liquid food made by combining meat or vegetables with stock, milk, or water. Soup is usually served hot or warm, but there can be cold or cooled soups as well. So traditionally, soup is classified in French cuisines as either a clear soup or a thick soup. The soup that we are focusing on today, chicken noodle, is considered a clear soup. So soup itself dates back to 20,000 BC because clearly soup is limited by the ability to heat liquid, and that was primarily done using like hot rocks a lot of the time. So the word soup comes from the French word souper or soup, I'm not sure, S-O-U-P-E. And that word comes from the vulgar Latin word of suppa, S-U-P-P-A, suppa, or sup in Germanic. The combination of chicken and broth to create like a chicken soup is dated back to ancient Greece. However, it's chicken soup and chicken noodle soup is found in like almost every culture. So it's hard to say if like what area like originated first. Ancient Greek is very well detailed and written history, so therefore a lot of the times, we can say, oh, well, we know for a fact they had it this time. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the first, but certainly it's documented. And so actually, an interesting fact is that the word restaurant, it means in restoring, so blank restoring, something restoring. And it was actually first used in 16th century France to refer to the selling of concentrated, inexpensive soup sold by street vendors as an aid to heal exhaustion. Chicken noodle soup itself has been used in folk medicine throughout history as a cure for the common cold and flu. And a lot of people still use it as like a comfort food when they're sick. I know I have soup a lot, especially canned soup when I'm sick. It just
soothes that soul.
Soothes the soul.
Give me the beat, boys, and soothe my soul. I wanna get lost in this good old bowl of chicken soup.
But yeah, so anyway, in the 19th century, canning became a big thing, a big deal. People are like, hey, we could can things and preserve it for a while. Let's do it. And in 1897, condensed soup was invented by John T. Dorrance, who was a chemist with the Campbell Soup Company. So that was the first time condensed soup existed. Campbell's chicken noodle soup was first sold in 1934. Is the first known canned soup. Campbell's really kind of led the market on canned soups, and clearly still exists to this day. The Campbell's chicken noodle soup is one of the third most popular soups in the United States, and every year people have 2.5 billion bowls of the top 3 soups, which consist of tomato, soup, cream of mushroom, and chicken noodle per year. Slurping down those bowls of soup.
Slurping it down.
For chicken noodle soup itself, it's comprised of thin broth, which goes back to the French designation of a clear soup, chicken, possible vegetables, and then noodles. And in going back to the folk medicine and the cure, in 2000, a study was conducted that found that chicken noodle soup can have some form of an anti-inflammatory response in people's bodies, and then a few years later that someone else looked at that study and was like, I don't know if that's true. So it's hard to say if maybe Campbell's was funding some research. Hard to say. And then the last thing I just wanted to note is that condensed canned soup is notorious for its sodium content,
yes,
which in some cases can be incredibly unhealthy, where a can of soup is your daily allotted amount of sodium that you should be having per day. And to combat this, a lot of soup companies and canned soups now come with a 30% less sodium, 40% less sodium to combat those health concerns.
Like low sodium, yeah. You see those a lot.
But yeah, so that's my just some general basic knowledge of the soup market.
Okay, let's
slurp up.
Okay, don't love that, but okay.
All right, we're back. We just heated up some of our soups. So first we thought we would start with the classic one that we both had. We have the Campbell's Homestyle Chicken Noodle Soup.
Yes. This is like the classic, you're sick, mom makes you some soup.
Let me heat you up some soup.
Not much to it. It's basically just noodles, a little bit of carrots, and some chicken. I can't really tell. That might be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like just noodles, carrots, and chicken.
I think there's a little celery in there maybe
Okay.
too. So we wanted to start with our baseline chicken noodle soup we both had.
Yes. This is one we're familiar
Yeah.
with. I mean, I would say it's just like an average soup.
Fine. Yeah. I don't think when I have a Campbell's can, I'm not expecting it to be gourmet.
Right.
A gourmet meal. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine.
I think my biggest issue is like the broth is very weak flavored.
Yeah,
I think because you have to add a can of water in.
Yes, it is a relatively light
Yeah.
soup, and they do tend to skimp on the meat.
Yeah.
It's really small chunks.
It's a lot of noodles, not a lot of carrots or meat.
Yeah, but I do like the thin noodles.
Yeah.
I think I like the thinness of the
Yes.
noodle. Yeah.
This was accidentally, not really a mistake, but we got this Upton's Natural Chicken and Noodle Soup, and it's actually vegan.
Yes.
So it has noodles, carrots, celery, and some sort of
Chicken seitan.
fake.
It says that on the front.
Chicken seitan.
Yeah. I will say, I think the soup is way more flavorful than the Campbell's. I did really like the noodles. The carrots were very mushy.
Yeah.
They disintegrated in my mouth. And I love carrots, but I don't like them to be baby food.
Yeah. There was a weird taste. It almost tasted like stuffing.
Yeah, it is a little of
I
a stuffing.
couldn't understand the flavor a little bit.
The meat, I think, or the fake meat, I should say, I think was fine. Definitely didn't taste like chicken. I know some, Impossible, type meats do taste pretty similar to the meat they're imitating. This one, it was fine. It was a fine flavor, but definitely was not
It didn't really
chicken.
taste like chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, if I was going to have that as a soup, I wouldn't really classify it as a chicken noodle. It's more almost like a Italian wedding soup. I feel like it tastes more like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was fine. Okay, so next we have Progresso Traditional Chicken Noodle Soup. Made with white meat chicken and no antibiotics ever.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
I have had this soup before.
I think I have as well. It's not my, I wouldn't choose this as my first choice.
And
but
this one has celery, carrots,
and chicken.
chicken noodles.
Yep.
I think out of the three, this one's had the best chicken.
I agree.
It's
I think
the chunkiest and thickest.
it's got chunky, thick chicken that Campbell's certainly does not have.
Yeah.
I think the noodles were pretty good.
Yeah.
The flavor was pretty good of the actual broth. It wasn't too watery.
Right.
Again, the carrots were super mushy,
Yeah.
which is a little hard to get past. But overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. I think the only thing, for some reason with Progresso chicken noodle soup, there's always this little bit of a weird aftertaste. Aftertaste, and I don't know what it is, but I always notice it when I eat it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it is pretty decent chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
For a can. Okay. Next we have Pacific Foods Organic Chicken Noodle Soup. This one's the first one that has peas in it. Has celery, carrots, chicken,
Thick noodles.
and noodles. My issue with this one is the peas overwhelm the flavor.
See, I like the peas flavor.
Okay.
I liked the addition of the peas. I thought that it it helped with the flavor. I think
Okay.
it made it more flavorful.
I think the broth was pretty decent. I think the chicken was kind of weak.
Chicken was real tough and stringy.
Yeah, and the carrots were again mushy.
Carrots are really mushy.
The noodles were okay.
Noodles are fine.
Overall, just an average.
Average, yeah. An
Average soup.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next we have Campbell's Homestyle Chicken Noodle Soup. So this is the chunkier, thick, with 3 C's version.
I don't know if I've had this one.
I have had this before in the kind that you can microwave. I don't know
Okay.
if I've gotten this in the can before, but I've definitely had this variety in they make microwavable versions.
Right.
Yeah, I think the soup is pretty good. I think the flavor is pretty good. It's got big chunky chicken. The carrots are not mushy. My problem though, and because I've had this soup before, I know, is I just something is wrong with these noodles. The consistency of the noodle is just not al dente. It's kind of rubbery almost, and it's always been a problem for me. I definitely have had this soup, but I can't make it my favorite just because of those noodles.
Yeah, I think the chicken's good. I think that the broth flavor is good. And the carrots were probably one of the best carrots we had.
Yeah.
But yeah, the noodles are a little bit, like, rubbery.
Yeah.
Almost.
Just, like, a little off.
Yeah.
Just a little. There's something wrong.
Okay, next we have Annie's gluten-free chicken and pasta soup. Sorry. I don't like it.
Hannah, like, audibly gagged.
I don't like it.
Having the soup. So why don't you share your feelings first?
The noodles, I know they're gluten-free. They're just very, like... They taste like undercooked pasta a little bit. I just don't think the broth tastes good.
Yeah, I didn't think the flavor was that great.
Yeah.
Just of the soup in general. Like, it's okay. It's fine. The veggies and the chicken were fine. The noodles, I agree. Like, they're gluten-free, so they're not going to be exactly, like, normal noodles. But those I wasn't, like, disgusted by.
I think it was the broth that, like,
yeah, the flavor is just... it's almost like wonton soup.
Yeah.
Or, like an egg noodle soup. Like,
Which is not good.
It's just, like, not really chicken noodle flavored. So... I think the problem is there's just nothing that stood out. Because in the other soups, it's like, okay, this isn't great, but this was really good. This one's just kind of like, okay.
I think everything was just at average or below.
Yeah.
There was nothing that was like the shining star of this soup.
Yeah.
Which is an issue.
I would agree.
Okay. So next we have just a classic Meyer brand chicken noodle condensed soup.
Yes, your basic grocery store.
Literally just noodles and chicken.
Noodles and chicken. No vegetables. It's really salty.
It's really salty, and I hate that kind of chicken.
Yeah, it's like
like rubbery.
Yeah, it's like rubbery chicken. It's like I think it's because the noodles aren't great, the chicken's not great. It's like super salty, and there's no vegetables. So
there's nothing good about it.
Yeah, there's like no seasoning in it either.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, I guess it was 79 cents. So
yeah, it literally was 79 cents.
All right, and lastly, we have Rose made for home slow simmered soup chicken noodle. This one did come in a jar and not a can, and we'll see.
I was excited because I've had their pasta sauce. I didn't realize they made soup. So.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had this before.
Yeah. So before we go through, I was just curious to see.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the soup yet.
Oh, I totally forgot. Okay.
It's like, we gotta talk about the soup before we go to the ranking.
This soup is like... You can definitely tell that it was made with more ingredients.
Yeah.
I think there was some onion in there.
There's some onion. It definitely, like, it says it's slow simmered soup, and the flavor does really come through.
It doesn't taste like that fake chickeny flavor.
Yeah.
The chicken was pretty good. The noodles were decent. I think it's pretty good. There's just a little bit of an off flavor. Yeah. It's not 100% like a chicken noodle flavor.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good.
I really liked it. I thought, like, all of the elements worked well together.
Yeah.
And while I think there's a different soup that had better chicken... and a different soup that had a better, like, maybe higher on, like, a noodle, or I think this one's, like, a really well-rounded soup.
Right. So I do have the receipt, because we were curious to see if how we ranked them matched the price. I will say the cheapest one was the Meyer soup.
Yes.
The most expensive was the one we just ate.
The Rose, okay.
Yes.
All right. Are you ready with your ranking?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can start first.
Sure. So number 8, I have the Meyer brand soup. It just, like, was so salty. I took, like, maybe 2 spoonfuls, and then I was like, nope, I don't need any more. And also, there's no veggies. It's just the broth, the chicken, the noodles, and none of those elements are good in any way. So I would not recommend Meyer brand soup.
Yeah, I have number 8 is Meyer brand soup as well. It was just very, like, blah. Like, very salty.
Very salty.
It would just make me feel, like, really thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're sick and you're already dehydrated, that's the last thing you need.
So, number 7, I have the Annie's gluten-free chicken noodle. I didn't hate it as much as Hannah did, but the flavor was a bit weird, and then the other elements were just okay, so it wasn't something that I would, 1, be drawn to, 2, like, I'm not gluten-free. You know, if that was your only option, I guess it would be okay, you know, if you can't have noodles, but I wouldn't go out of my way to eat it again.
Yeah, number 7, I have Annie's gluten-free. I didn't like the taste of the broth. I think the broth to me was worse than the noodles were. And there was just nothing great about it.
So number 6, I have the Upton's vegan chicken noodle soup. Now, I think this one had a pretty good flavor, but it didn't taste like chicken noodle soup. And I think that's a detriment because it was really flavorful. The noodles were really good. The vegan meat was fine, you know, the fake meat was perfectly fine. The carrots were really mushy in this soup, and then just didn't taste like chicken noodle. So I had to dock some points for that.
Yeah, number 6, I had Upton's Natural Vegan. I didn't think I could put it higher because it didn't taste like chicken noodle, and this is a chicken noodle soup ranking. It just didn't taste like chicken noodle soup, and that's an issue to me.
So number 5. Number 5, I have Pacific Foods Organic Soup. I thought it had a good flavor. I didn't mind the peas as much as Hannah did. I thought it was fine. I liked the veggies. The chicken was really stringy and really tough. And like chicken noodle soup, one of the main parts is the chicken, so I didn't think I could rank it any higher.
Yeah, number 5, I have Pacific Foods Organic. Yeah, the chicken wasn't good. I thought the peas just like overwhelmed the flavor, and the broth was just like average. There was nothing special.
Number 4, I have the Campbell's Condensed Soup Home Style, which is the first one we tried. So broth was really light. Like the flavor was pretty lacking. I did like the thinner noodles. They skimp on the chicken a lot. Carrots were fine in that one, but it just like is okay. Like there's nothing like great about it, and I feel like if you top 3 like all had different things that I thought worked really well or like were better than the rest of them. So number 4.
Yeah, number 4, I have Campbell's Condensed Home Style. Pretty much everything you said. I think it's an average soup, and 4 is average on this list. It's, 4 out of 8. It's okay. It's not bad. It's one that we grew up with, so I'm used to it, but there's just nothing that special, and I really only eat that soup when I'm sick.
When I'm sick, yeah.
And I don't want to put the effort of, like, making soup.
Yeah, number 3, I also have the other Campbell's soup, the Campbell's Home Style, the thick noodles. So this one, I think the flavor's better. I think the chicken and the carrots have a good consistency, and the flavor's really good. But those noodles, just like, I don't know what it is about that noodle consistency. It's just like not right, and I've always had a problem with it. I'll eat this soup. I've certainly had it multiple times. I've had it when I'm sick. I've had it in microwave like for lunch sometimes in the winter when I'm lazy and I don't want to make food. But yeah, the noodles really hold it back.
Number 3, I have Campbell's Home Style, the chunky version. I think this one, because of the chicken, it propels it above the last one.
Yeah.
But I think if the noodles were better, it would maybe be number 1, because
Yeah.
I think all the other components are really strong. It's just that the noodles are too rubbery.
Number 2, I have the Progresso chicken noodle soup. So this one I thought was really flavorful. Consistency was good. It had pretty big chunks of chicken. Like the chicken was pretty good. But however, it had really mushy carrots, like noticeably mushy carrots. And I thought it was a good soup though. Like this is a soup I would have again. I would like gladly eat this soup, especially if I was sick. I think I would enjoy it. The noodles were pretty good. It's just not my favorite.
Number 2, I had Progresso. I've had this one many a times. I think the chicken was really good. The noodles were good. The only thing I would say is like the broth has that, to me it has like a little bit of an aftertaste. That's why it's not number 1. But it's overall like I'm fine with eating this soup.
Yeah, and the number 1's the Rose slow simmered chicken noodle soup in a jar. It had really good flavor, good noodles, chicken, veggies, all around good. It definitely had some added elements, some onions, probably some other herbs and spices. I think overall it is the best well-rounded soup. I think that there's better chicken in one of these soups and there's better noodles, but it altogether makes a better soup. And that would be my top choice. If I had to pick one to be the best, it would be Rose.
Yeah, number 1 I had Rose. I think this is like the only one that if I went to a not expensive restaurant and got to serve chicken noodle soup, if it was that, I'd be okay with it. I think the rest I'd be like, meh. But yeah, I think the flavor's pretty good. I think I agree with you. I think there's better chicken, better noodles, but I think overall it's like the most complete, cohesive soup, and it is the one that tastes most like something you could pull off as like a homemade. Because it has like, I even told Alyssa like the broth looks more homemade.
Yeah, it's a thinner,
it's not very
as,
like yellow. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, well, once again, Hannah and I have started the year with the exact same ranking list. A surprise to maybe no one.
Do you want to just read it off?
Yeah,
for both
I was
of
going to
us?
say, I'll read out my list and just know it's the same for both of us. So, number 8 is the Meyer brand soup, then the Annie's gluten-free, the Upton's vegan soup, the Pacific Foods organic, the Campbell's condensed home style, the Campbell's thick home style, the Progresso chicken noodle, and number 1 is Rose slow simmered chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, that is soup. There it is.
There it is. There's our soup.
Yeah. That's... I don't want to eat chicken noodle soup for a while.
Yeah, it's a lot of canned
It was
soup.
a lot of soup.
A lot of soup. We try to eat not too much, just a few spoonfuls of sugar, to make the medicine go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was an interesting concept, not just to do canned soup, but specifically only chicken noodle.
Yeah.
This is also the first ranking we've done where we haven't really been able to retest stuff.
Right, because we just had to dump it.
We only have 2 saucepans, so
Yes.
therefore we're limited in the amount of soups we can heat at a time.
Yeah. Anyways, we will be back in February with some new stuff. We have our Instagram, our Twitter. You can reach us, email r3podcasts@gmail.com.
If you have a favorite chicken noodle soup, canned or non-canned, that you would like to recommend, feel free. If you hate our opinions, let us know. We'd love to hear them. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, we are taking them at this time.
Yeah.
If you know us personally, you can tell us in person or text us. You don't have to formally email us. We don't care. If you don't know us, however, please do not contact us in a non-unprofessional manner.
Yeah. That's all we have to say.
All right. We'll see you in February.
All right, bye.
Bye.
We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research Rank Repeat. Check this out really quick. We should call it Soups. Burn for the worst part too.
Yeah. Sure.
We can do that.
We can do that.
What do they call it?
Why not call it that?